Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is a one-on-one interview, and it's the deadline day special. Joining me is Sky Sports' Dharmesh Sheth. Dharmesh, always a pleasure chatting to you. Not much happening then today, is it? Bit of a quiet one?
Mate, honestly, I don't think Manchester United were planning this. I think they started this window wanting to get all of their business done really early compared to what happened last summer. And in the main, they did get that. And in fairness, some of it is down to circumstance because there's been a few injury issues within that squad and a couple of departures that they were working on. And, the whole David De Gea saga with Dean Henderson then wanting to be a number one as well. But Erik ten Hag making like Andre Onana was his primary target. So all of those have contributed to us reaching deadline day, let alone the final week, deadline day, when not one, not two, but potentially three incomings at Manchester United.
Yeah, let's get into that then, because one's been confirmed this morning, just as we're recording, and that is a new goalkeeper has joined Manchester United. What can you tell us about the details of that?
Yeah, so this is one that they have been chasing for a while. I think it was actually finally formally agreed last night because they wanted to do it in tandem with Dean Henderson's exit. This has been a real saga with regard to the goalkeepers, because if you look at what United's goalkeeping department looked like last season, they had David De Gea. Dean Henderson, of course, was on loan, but he was still a Manchester United player. Jack Butland was on loan. They had Tom Heaton and they had Mate Kovar as well. Kovar's gone to Bayer Leverkusen. Butland's loan deal is expired. We thought that David De Gea was going to stay. He ends up leaving at the end of his contract. So it leaves Dean Henderson. Now, they were doing long talks with Nottingham Forest over a loan with an obligation. That didn't materialise. Crystal Palace then saw an opportunity because Vicente Guaita, he wanted out of the club. He didn't want to be there anymore. So Palace have opened talks with Manchester United over Dean Henderson. In the meantime, Erik ten Hag decided Andre Onana, he is the guy that I want. They managed to get him in, but they still hadn't got Dean Henderson a move. While all of that was happening with Crystal Palace, United, of course, have to do due diligence on other goalkeepers. They were looking at Odysseus Vlachodimos from Benfica. That one looked close before they settled on Fenerbahce's Altay Bayındır. That one is now confirmed. It's £4.3 million, we think the deal is worth in total. It's a 4-year contract. Manchester United hold the option for a further year. So he will be number two to Andre Onana. But you know what? He could be busy this season, only because Onana now is back in the reckoning with Cameroon and with the Africa Cup of Nations mid-season again this season. He is going to be playing matches for Manchester United. So it was so crucial that United brought in a number two that they knew they could trust and bring in and play once Onana wasn't around. So Bayındır, that one is done and dusted. United have announced it this morning. So that's one down, potentially two to go.
One down, two to go. We'll move on to the next one then. Sergio Reguilon. At the time of recording this, he's not a Manchester United player. He hasn't joined, but it's looking like any minute now he could be announced. Is this almost a done deal?
It certainly looks that way. This has been a really interesting one as well, because United knew that the left-back area was not an area that they wanted to strengthen at the start of this window. Luke Shaw and Tyrone Malacia, they were all sorted there. But injuries to both has effectively forced Erik ten Hag's hand, and he wanted to do a short-term deal. There was talk of Spinazzola from Roma, which would have been an incredible signing. I think there was talk of Marcos Alonso as well. There was talk of Sergio Reguilon, but the one that they were focusing on was Marc Cucurella. And that one looked like it was going to happen up until Wednesday night, when he ended up playing 90 minutes for Chelsea. And that threw doubt on any potential deal. And we were right to have doubt on that deal, because within 24 hours, United had switched their focus back to Sergio Reguilon of Tottenham. That one has effectively been agreed. He's completed his medical. We're now just waiting for that formal announcement. The details of this one will give an indication of the knock-on effects and why potentially they didn't end up going for Cucurella. Manchester United wanted to put a break clause in the Cucurella deal in January. I don't think Chelsea were up for that. They wanted the full loan deal because that would imply more money as well for the season-long loan. So that's one of the reasons that broke down. There is a break clause in Sergio Reguilon's loan deal for the season-long loan. So if everyone is back and fit and firing, and Erik ten Hag feels that he's got enough players in his squad for the remainder of the season, there is a chance that they can close and cut short that loan with Sergio Reguilon in January. But he could still have a big part to play while Shaw and while Malacia are injured. So that one looks like it is going to happen. Everything seems to be in place for Sergio Reguilon to come from Tottenham to Manchester United on a season-long loan with that break clause. And the knock-on effect for that one as well, because we think the finances involved in that deal are slightly less than what they would have been for Cucurella and Chelsea, it then gives United a little bit more money to play with when they're going for target number 3.
We'll move on to that. Just quickly on the left-back situation. I was watching Sky Sports last night, and you made the point that whilst I can be very critical of Manchester United sometimes and how we leave things late and the way things going, the left back kind of made sense because we had those 2 injuries. You can't expect that. Malacia was obviously out. Luke Shaw picks something up, and this seems like a pretty sensible move to get in someone who's got experience, who is available and can come in on loan, like you were saying, with that break clause. So this, for me, feels like, for once, the club doing something that it should be doing rather than
Jay, I know the
panicking.
optics. It's the optics, though, isn't it? I know some fans will say, why Manchester United going for Marc Cucurella? Why are they going for Sergio Reguilon when they can't get in the team at Chelsea and at Tottenham? But Erik ten Hag has probably seen something in those players to think, actually, they will fit in the way that I want to play. They are available. It seems like a no-risk strategy to bring these players in, especially now that United have got this break clause in January so that they can cut short that deal if they need to.
Yeah, for once it makes a bit of sense at United. You mentioned the third one there. We touched on it. Sofyan Amrabat. This is the one that when I go online, when I speak to people, everyone's like, what's happening with Amrabat? I mean, it sounds like this kid's doing everything he can to get a move to Manchester United.
Yes.
He's just waiting for United to come in. Where are we up to that? Is this looking likely to happen?
This has been going on for like 6 weeks now. And what has been consistent in that whole time is that Sofyan Amrabat wants to come to Manchester United. Now, the issue Manchester United have got is what they've had to deal with throughout this transfer window. And I know United fans have been really critical of this line that keeps coming out with them trying to comply with financial fair play rules. But that has come into the equation with this because Fiorentina want to do a permanent deal. United can't do that permanent deal as it stands. They want to do a loan. And I think there was a loan that they tried to do that included a break clause for Sofyan Amrabat as well, which was rejected completely out of hand. So what they're trying to do now is do a compromise whereby it's a loan with an option, and that option kind of becomes an obligation depending on certain conditions about number of appearances, etc. So I think a compromise can be found there. And I think United are in that position where they know the player wants to come there. And they know that the player hasn't been training with the first team squad. They know that Fiorentina believe his head is not right to be playing football just now. He hasn't played since the Conference League final against West Ham United at the back end of last season. Wasn't involved in the squad at all in their conference playoff second leg against Rapid Vienna last night. So all of the ingredients on that side would imply that they would want to get a deal done. But Fiorentina know they have to get the deal done that's suitable for them, while United might just be playing on the fact that, hold on, we know it's effectively a one-horse race here. I know there's lots of noise about the Fiorentina president coming out and saying there are lots of other clubs interested. There was talk of Fulham even potentially going in with a bid. Sky Italy was saying that they had gone in with something. But I spoke to Gianluca Di Marzio, who broke that story last night, and I just asked him one question. Does Amrabat still just want United? One answer, yes.
Definitely. It certainly seems that way. Just while we're on the subject of Fulham, Palhinha's been linked with a move to Bayern Munich, and that could have a knock-on effect because there was talk that Fulham, if that move happens, could come in for Scott McTominay as a replacement for Palhinha. Where are we up to that? Is any of that looking like it could happen?
Fulham are doing due diligence on a number of midfielders. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, we think, from Tottenham, who was offered to Manchester United. We think he's been offered to Fulham as well. But Scott McTominay is one that they are looking at. We think initial contact has been made between Fulham and Manchester United over the potential conditions of a deal. But this is one that is dependent, we think, on Palhinha, because they're going to need to get all of that money from Palhinha as well to be able to fund a deal. And, of course, there's going to be a space in that squad to fill with someone like a Højbjerg or a Scott McTominay. The issue Fulham are going to have is they will know that Manchester United have already rejected a bid from West Ham for around £30 million earlier on in this transfer window. And two reasons: United want more money than £30 million, and also United wanted to bring in a replacement before they allowed Scott McTominay to go. Maybe both of those ingredients are coming to fruition now if they can do the deal for Sofyan Amrabat, and if Fulham end up selling Palhinha. I think everything could be in place for a potential sale of Palhinha because he wants to go to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich desperately want to do the deal. The thing is, it's so time constrained now. I mean, we've only got a few hours left of this window. To be able to do two huge deals like that is going to be difficult. I think United will be in a position now, though, regardless of whether McTominay stays or goes, to still be able to do that deal for Sofyan Amrabat because, you know, they've done that deal with Fred where they recouped around 15 million euros all in, and probably significantly the deal to take Dean Henderson to Crystal Palace is worth around £20 million in itself. So any money that they need to spend on loan fees and on wages and on a potential obligation or option fee, United might be in a position where they're covered regardless of whether McTominay leaves or not.
It's just, it'll be interesting to see how this pans out then, because, you know, we thought it was just maybe looking at Amrabat, but obviously Scott McTominay going, there could be a few twists and turns. We've also got other players that perhaps, you know, there's sort of maybe Donny van der Beek or others that
Van der Beek,
yeah. So I'm sure you're going to be keeping us posted on Sky Sports all day. I hope you've got plenty of caffeine, lots of coffee, and it's going to be a busy day for you. And Dharmesh, I appreciate you coming on the channel. It's always great chatting to you, and we'll catch up with you again soon, and I'll be tuning into Sky Sports later to see just when it is Amrabat arrives, hopefully at Old Trafford. So thanks for joining us on the one-on-one interview on Stretford Paddock.
Pleasure. It's been a real pleasure, the whole window as well, guys. So thank you.